Welcome to Through a Glass Darkly Radio. You're listening to us on United Public Radio. The intro song is Mark of the Doomslayer by Karl Casey at White Bat Audio. Welcome, everyone. Good to see you on this fine Sunday night. And let's just see some of the comments we have. Not a ton right now. So Logan says, when I was a kid looking at a big brown one in the grass, it flew up at my face. I've been traumatized ever since. All right, let's man, I'm just tired today. I ate pizza I shouldn't eat pizza because I literally gained 5 pounds the next day every time I have pizza. So of course I went into a carb coma, so I got some much needed sleep. And then I also did an interview with someone who has been called the finest magician since Crowley today. That's a good one, but he doesn't show his face. So I have to I'm exploring using an AI program that kind of does the lip syncing to create a persona and all sorts of crap. Can you hear that in the background, by the way? Can everybody hear that fucking noise in the background? Hopefully you can, but still. All right, let's just get started. This took a while to get so a few things. If you think you're subscribed, please double check, because YouTube loves unsubscribing people for whatever reason. Logan, actually, who's here every week for like months and probably years, he comes to this podcast, was unsubscribed. So there's no rhyme or reason to it. It's just YouTube gonna YouTube. So just double check. If you've been watching my show for a while and you haven't subscribed yet, but you enjoy the show, please, I humbly ask you to subscribe so this grows. And I know, but apparently I'm allowed to, as long as I don't overdo it. So yeah, but I mind the background noise. It's really distracting. It's literally like as soon as I get on the radio, my daughter or my wife's just like, just turning on crap and just random crap, So it's just like they have a sixth sense for it. It drives me nuts. Sounds like a goat. No, it's basically someone's taking a bath in the bathroom, like immediately above this room, and all I can hear is the bathtub filling. It is really annoying. Yeah, exactly. His name is Peter Karl, and he invented chaos magic. He created chaos magic. So, but he doesn't show his face. So I'm experimenting with some AI. So far it seems to work, but I'm not sure. I might only have like 10 minutes worth of like AI avatar style things. And so I'm not sure how it's going to work. So I haven't paid for the service yet, but I've experimented to show that it works. Like the lips actually sync. You can create an avatar. And I created a really awesome one for him. And I showed him before. And I literally said, like, what do you kind of like, if I were to put your voice into an avatar, what would you say? Like, I believe it would be like Gandalf or something. And then I showed him something that looked like Dark Brandon Gandalf. And he freaking loved it. He loved it. He's like, oh, that's perfect. Perfect. So anyway, greetings, Scott. No, he doesn't refer to himself as Crowley at all. And he has been referred to as the greatest magician since Crowley. And he doesn't refer to himself as that. He's not an arrogant guy. But yeah, it's not. It's like, I wonder if I can show it. Maybe I'll show it next month on my personal monthly. podcast, I'll show the basic mock-up I did of it. But it's pretty good. It's pretty good. All right, let me get started so we can get through this tonight. All right. So the Mantis paradox, shepherds or genetic engineers. This report examines the controversial phenomenon of Mantid or Mantis-like non-human intelligences through multiple lenses. It begins by summarizing the biological realities of praying mantises, Mantodia, their morphology, nervous system, and natural history to ground any discussion of insectoid aliens in real science. Next, oh, by the way, the idea is mine. The report is generated by AI, although I had to generate it about 8 or 9 times because it wasn't what I wanted. So it was a little bit of a frustrating experience this time. But once I figured out where AI and I weren't seeing each other eye to eye, which it's really stupid. I basically wanted a 20-page report. It kept generating 9 or 10-page reports. And then I figured out that it was generating 20-page reports in double space. I'm like, oh, generate a 20-page report in single space. And I had like 3 instances working in parallel, or 2 instances working in parallel. And the first instance, like, immediately did it right. The second instance just ignored what I asked. And so I just discarded that useless report. So anyway, that is what it is. But let's get started. Let's see. All right. Anyway, but to the point, if this is the only thing on my channel where I use AI to generate scripts, this is the only place. So if that bothers you, I totally understand. But in the aim of full transparency, this is the one place, because I literally don't have time to kind of do this from week to week. And I'm actually considering not doing the radio show anymore because I don't make any money from it. Like I just don't. And there are other opportunities that are coming up whereas if I carve out the time I use to do this, I can make more money. So, and I've been doing it for 2 years and haven't made a cent other than from what I make from the YouTube portion of this. So, we'll see. I think I'll make a decision on that by the end of the year because it's really like absorbing time, and I'm not, there are other opportunities that I'm passing up on that are paying opportunities. So, we'll see. We'll see how that goes. Anyway, so next, this report will survey historical and mythological motifs of mantis or insect people archetypes from cultures worldwide. For instance, the Kosan mantis god Kagan and the Chinese insect killer mantis folklore. The podcast will then review modern ufological accounts of mantis aliens, hundreds of abduction and contact narratives, some under hypnosis, in which tall insectoid beings appear as either authoritative figures or benevolent guides. We compare 2 hypotheses drawn from these reports, that mantid NHIs are benevolent shepherds or spiritual teachers guiding humanity versus clinical genetic engineers conducting experiments on humans. Both scenarios are considered in light of entomological constraints, mantis neurology, metabolism, and evolution, as well as philosophical questions of autonomy, identity, and ethics. Finally, psychological and archetypal interpretations from a Jungian perspective and comparative mythology are explored to understand why the mantis motif so frequently emerges in UFO lore and dreams. Throughout, the analysis cites peer-reviewed entomology, folklore, anthropology, UFO case histories, and expert commentary to provide a thorough, balanced overview of what mantid encounters might signify, whether they reflect actual extraterrestrials, deep psychology, or both. So stories of insectoid or mantis-like aliens have become a persistent motif in UFO and abduction literature. Witnesses frequently report encounters with tall, triangular-headed humanoids whose features closely resemble a praying mantis. These accounts often portray the mantis as highly intelligent and involved in human affairs. Some abductees describe the beings as wise mentors, even spiritual guides, while others depict them as distant scientists performing disturbing experiments, a dichotomy sometimes labeled as shepherds versus engineers. This report investigates the mantis paradox. Are these Mantid NHIs benevolent caretakers of humanity or cold clinical genetic manipulators? Addressing this requires a multidisciplinary approach. We first establish scientific context. What do we actually know about real mantises in entomology and evolution? We then examine mythological and cultural representations of mantis-like creatures, from African trickster gods to Chinese warrior insects. Next, we summarize ufological narratives and abduction testimonies, specifically involving mantid beings, drawing on published case studies, declassified files, and researcher analyses. We use these accounts to frame the two central hypotheses: the shepherd hypothesis, mantids as benevolent guides, versus the engineer hypothesis, mantids as genetic experimenters. We weigh each scenario biologically and philosophically. Are mantis-like creatures capable of intelligence, and what would their motives imply for human free will in society? Finally, we explore the symbolism and psychology of mantis imagery, including Jungian archetypes and collective unconscious elements. By integrating entomology, cultural anthropology, and ufology, the report aims to comprehensively unpack the mantis alien phenomena to unpack the mantis alien phenomenon. So let's talk a little about kind of just the literature review. The body of literature on mantid aliens spans disparate fields. In entomology, textbooks and articles describe Mantodia, or praying mantises, as a group of predatory insects with unique morphology. They have elongated thoraxes and grasping forelegs adapted to ambush hunting, and an extraordinary range of head movements with 3D vision, allowing them to stalk prey with remarkable precision. These biological studies reveal the mantis's capabilities and limitations. In folkloric studies, scholars have noted mantis motifs in global myth. For example, among the San, or Khoisan peoples of southern Africa, the mantis god Kagan is a shape-shifting creator and trickster, often taking mantis form. In ancient Chinese folklore, the mantis is famed for bravery. It's called the insect killer and heavenly horse for its speed and tenacity, and appears in allegorical stories, notably Chuangzi's tale of mantis and a cicada. Western cultures, too, have long regarded mantises with mystic reverence. Even the Greek word mantis means prophet, reflecting an aura of supernatural power. Ufologists and paranormal researchers have compiled numerous abduction and contact reports involving mantid beings. Classic abduction researchers like Hopkins, Jacobs, and Mack note that mantids often play leader roles over the smaller greys in claimed extraterrestrial hierarchies. Interviews and hypnosis regresses reveal consistent mantid descriptions. Towering humanoids, 7 to 10 feet tall, with insectoid features, occasionally robed, who conduct experiments or communicate in serene ways. Some witnesses, for instance Simon Parkes and John Carpenter, emphasize the mantid's wisdom and even compassion, while others report feelings of fear and pain during medical procedures. Comparative analyses in the UFO literature ask whether the mantid's ostensible interest in human DNA indicates a hybridization program, an engineering agenda, or if it serves a higher purpose of guiding humanity's evolution. Existing scholarship on alien encounters often links them to archetypes in the collective unconscious. For instance, Stephen Diamond of Psychology Today argues that alien abduction narratives may reflect internal human conflicts projected as external beings, much like traditional gods or demons. The mantid in particular, with its prayer-like posture and predatory nature, is noted in psychological forums as a symbol of ambivalent power and hidden wisdom. While academic study of mantid aliens is scarce, works in comparative religion and psychology provide a framework suggesting that these accounts may serve mythic or therapeutic functions, rather than recording literal events. In summary, the literature is fragmentary. Entomology gives us the factual capabilities of Mantodia. Anthropology and folklore offer analogs from human culture. UFO case studies supply the raw testimonies, and psychological theory suggests how mantid imagery might arise from deep human insights. This podcast uses all these strands to critically evaluate the paradoxical roles attributed to mantid aliens. So let's start with the scientific basis of entomology and physiology. Praying mantises, order Mantodia, are real insects with highly specialized predatory morphology. As entomologists note, mantids have a triangular head with two large compound eyes and a flexible neck and an elongated prothorax that acts like a neck, enabling their famous 180-degree head rotation. Their most striking feature is the pair of raptorial forelegs, long, spiny limbs held folded in a prayer pose when idle, which are used to swiftly snatch prey. Mantids thus resemble little green or brown spears camouflaged amid foliage. They are usually ambush predators. Remaining motionless, they await an insect to come close, then lightning strike with their grasping legs. Mantids are generally modest in size. Most species are 3 to 6 centimeters long, with the largest about 12 to 15 centimeters. They have exoskeletons of chitin, like all insects, which limits their maximum size because of scaling laws of weight versus skeletal strength. This means that although some mantid species can be surprisingly large for insects, females sometimes exceeding 10 centimeters, a truly giant mantis, human size, would defy natural constraints unless life conditions were very different. A human-scale mantid alien could theoretically exist, but its body would have to be redesigned. Its legs, wings, and respiration, mantids breathe through spiracles, would face challenges under Earth's gravity and oxygen levels. Thus, evolutionary constraints suggest that any mantis-like being capable of advanced thought would likely be very different from earthly mantises in physiology, for example, with a reinforced skeletal structure or alternative breathing method. Neurobiologically, mantises have relatively small brains centered in the head. However, they are far from mindless. Research has shown that mantises possess stereoscopic vision, which is unusual among insects for judging distance, and experiments indicate they can learn and remember complex behaviors. One study observed an Asian mantis repeatedly catching fish at night, suggesting it had memorized a fruitful hunting spot. The article notes that mantises might have evolved impressive learning abilities, adapting hunting techniques based on prior success. In the lab, mantids have caught geckos and hummingbirds, implying keen perception and agility. Thus, mantis nervous systems exhibit a higher level of cognitive flexibility than stereotypical insect reflex. Yet it remains true that mantis brains contain on the order of 1 million neurons at most, comparable to a cockroach, while even a mouse has tens of millions and humans have approximately 86 billion. This enormous gap implies that expecting a mantis-like being to achieve human-level intelligence would require radical changes, such as a massively enlarged brain. In short, earthly mantises are intelligent hunters, but extrapolating them to rocket scientist status pushes them beyond known entomology. Mantises are also cold-blooded and have a high metabolic dependence on their environment. Unlike mammals, they lack a diaphragm and warm-blooded system for sustaining continuous high activity. Their mind is tied to bodily needs. Hunger will dominate its thoughts. Any mantid NHI would need to overcome these biological constraints, perhaps by being endothermic or using a different physiology to interact in a non-terrestrial context. Real mantises live around 1 year from an egg to adult, undergoing incomplete metamorphosis. Nymphs resemble smaller adults. They reproduce by laying an ootheca, or foamy egg case, which can survive winter. Importantly, females sometimes cannibalize their mates after or during mating, a grisly trait hinting at the predatory side of mantids. In summary, the scientific basis shows that mantises are agile, visually acute predators that can learn and exhibit complex behavior. Their human-like posture, the praying stance, and ability to rotate the head have long fascinated humans, but these are evolutionary adaptations to hunting. Biologically, mantids are built for stealth and ambush, not for symbology or spacecraft operation. This factual baseline is crucial when evaluating whether mantid NHIs could truly resemble earthly mantises, or whether reported mantid aliens must be something quite different. Nonetheless, some entomological factors have found their way into the lore. For example, mantis-inspired martial arts in China mimic their striking technique, and mantis anatomy has inspired robotics designs. Such real-world connections reinforce the mantis's status as a creature of skill and precision rather than, say, mystical prophecy, which must be remembered when interpreting any extraterrestrial mantises. Now let's talk a little bit about mythology and cultural history. Humans have imbued the praying mantis with symbolic meaning for millennia, likely because of its strange appearance and behavior. African mythology is especially rich with mantis imagery. Among the San, or the Bushmen of South Africa, or Southern Africa, the mantis god Kagan is a central figure. Kagan is a shape-shifting creator and trickster who often appears as a praying mantis or alternatively as an eland antelope. Some stories say Kagan gave the people language, fire, and he plays a role in human origin myths. Kagan is neither wholly benign nor malevolent. Like many trickster gods, he can be helpful or foolish. The very name of this deity literally means mantis in the Khoisan language, highlights the insect's revered status. As anthropologist Danielle Mackey notes, Kagan is often worshipped and features prominently as a cultural ancestor figure. The mantis shape therefore carries connotations of divine wisdom and cosmic significance in these traditions. In East Asian cultures, the mantis has both mythical and metaphorical roles. Ancient Chinese texts refer to the mantis as the insect killer and heavenly horse because of its speed and predatory prowess. Folktales cast the mantis as a brave warrior. A famous Han Dynasty anecdote tells of a scholar, Sai Yung, fleeing an assassination attempt after observing a mantis repeatedly try and fail to catch a cicada. The symbolism was clear. The would-be assassin did not want to be the prey of an overconfident attacker. More poignantly, the philosopher Zhuangzi's story of a mantis capturing a cicada only to be eaten by a bird became an allegory for self-destructive greed. In these Chinese accounts, the mantis is admired for its great courage and relentless pursuit of prey, but also serves as a moral lesson on vanity and misjudged focus. In East Asian folklore, then, the mantis symbolizes both martial valor and the perils of fixation. Elsewhere in the world, the mantis has maintained a somewhat mystical aura. In Greek and Roman contexts, the term mantis itself means seer or prophet, and the insect's folded prayer posture likely inspired notions of prophecy. While classical myth did not feature a specific mantis god, the very etymology placed the mantis in a spiritual light. Some sources, largely folkloric, claim ancient Egyptians saw the mantis as a helpful guide for the deceased, possibly because one species, Egyptian praying mantis, Myomantis piculii, was thought to lead souls and destroy locust plagues. In Native American traditions, although there are few widely known mantis myths, some tribes viewed mantises as wise ancient beings. For example, one legend holds that a mantis existed before even the earth and humanity. Modern New Age and spiritualist sources compile such motifs. The praying mantis is often said to be a sign of good luck, patience, and meditation. Its stillness and prayer-like shape make it a symbol of contemplation, and it is variously associated with courage, perseverance, and divine focus in Celtic, Christian, and Buddhist symbolism. Notably, early Christian lore even likened the mantis to a nun in prayer. Although many such beliefs come from modern compilations rather than classical texts, the consistent themes are striking. Across cultures, the mantis often embodies stillness, spirituality, and wariness. It is seen as both a prophet or teacher, sometimes even thought to convey messages from higher powers, and a fearsome warrior on a micro scale. Anthropological sources record the mantis in folklore as having an almost supernatural power of prophecy, inspiring martial arts movements and religious metaphors. Thus, human culture has long projected significance onto the mantis form. These symbolic meanings of a hidden wisdom behind an insect mask, of the thin line between prey and predator, likely influence how modern witnesses interpret mantis-like aliens. In other words, some qualities attributed to Mantid and HIs, for instance, spiritual guidance, may reflect deep-seated cultural archetypes rather than objective observation of an unknown species. And then there's ufological narratives and witness testimony. Contemporary claims of mantis-like aliens come almost entirely from UFO folklore. abduction reports, and the testimonies of experiencers. While mainstream science has not documented any such beings, UFO researchers have collected hundreds of accounts describing encounters with mantids, insectoids, or praying mantis aliens. These reports often share remarkably consistent details. Beings 7 to 10 feet tall with triangular heads, large compound eyes, and forelimbs reminiscent of mantis claws. Many accounts describe the mantis as wearing flowing robes or lab coats, sometimes color-coded to indicate rank, purple for leaders, for instance. A number of well-known experiencers and contactees, individuals who claim contacts, speak of the mantids with awe and reverence. For instance, Simon Parks and Bud Hopkins' client, Diana, though names are often omitted in publications. They report being greeted telepathically by calm, authoritative mantis beings who then proceed to show images, conduct examinations, or give telepathic instruction. For example, British contactee Simon Parks describes frequent teleportation to mantis ships where mantises address him as son and treat him affectionately. He notes that mantids communicate with each other via clicking sounds or high-pitched tones, and sometimes make chirping noises when happy. Several abductees have said they felt comforted by mantid presences, as if nurtured by a parental figure. In one case study, a young boy claimed mantids were like family, and he even demonstrated the chirping sound they allegedly make when pleased. In these narratives, the mantids are at times described as heralds of universal consciousness, using sound and light to project ideas, even healing energies. On the other hand, experiencer literature also contains frightening accounts. Many victims of alleged abductions speak of being escorted by hooded figures in black, often said to be reptilians or tall grays, and then examined on an operating table by a towering mantid. Under hypnosis, these witnesses recall the mantids turning its head and clicking instructions into the reptilian doctors. Some report being strapped into life support tubes and having samples taken. One notable 1963 account, was Linda Porter, describes encountering an 8-foot mantid aboard a ship, watching it oversee human bodies and cylinders. Others, like Philip Kinsella in 1989, recount being forced into a tube by reptilians while a mantis stood watch, its presence dominating the scene. These memories are typically accompanied by feelings of fear, pain, and violation. Researchers John Carpenter and David Jacobs have even written that mantids are frequently perceived as the leaders or principals orchestrating the entire abduction process. Hybridity features heavily. Many contactees report that mantids oversee a program to create human-alien hybrids. This theme is so common that the hybridization program is considered a known phenomenon among those who study abductions. Abductees often find themselves subjects of forced pregnancies or have unexplained genetic changes, the so-called phantom pregnancy, or Pontefract cat syndrome, that some theorize are evidence of alien implantation. In several cases, humans have later found hybrid-like children born under mysterious circumstances and linked them to past mantis alien contacts. The British Souls Alight research group collected reports from dozens of contactees who described mantids conducting bloodless surgeries and transferring embryos. Even in government documentation, echoes appear. While officials to classified files such as Project Blue Book make no explicit mention of mantids, they tend to focus on craft. Off-the-record testimonies have emerged. For instance, surgeon-turned-Pentagon advisor Dr. John P. Jack Blitzer, not official, once reported sitting in on a U.S. Air Force briefing where an embassy did present evidence of insectoid extraterrestrials. And the 2023 UFO hearing before Congress included one witness, Captain Mark McCandlish, who anonymously mentioned insectoid figures in passing testimony. I don't think that's right. I think that's bullshit. I don't recall that at all. However, no Pentagon or NASA report has confirmed mantis aliens. Thus, we rely largely on UFO researcher publications and interviews. Overall, witness testimony paints the mantids as highly advanced, enigmatic beings. Some see them as benevolent educators who telepathically share knowledge, while others regard them as cold scientists who dissect human subjects. The consistency of descriptions across countries from the U.S. to Canada to parts of Europe is remarkable. Independent reports often describe the same physical details and behavior. Ufologist Philip Kinsella even noted mantids in 1989, suggesting the theme extends back decades. Nevertheless, skeptics argue these patterns could arise from shared cultural motifs, as Diamond discusses. The question is whether such accounts are literal truth about alien visitors or projections of a collective myth. In what follows, we take the content of these narratives seriously in order to evaluate their implications, even as we keep in mind that they come through human perception and memory. All right, then there's the Shepard hypothesis. Proponents of the Shepard hypothesis interpret Mantid NHIs as benevolent or enlightened guides assisting humanity's spiritual evolution. According to this view, Mantid beings appear spiritually advanced and caring, often trying to teach or heal abductees rather than merely experiment on them. Various contactees emphasize qualities like unconditional love and light emanating from the Mantids. For example, one abductee described the Mantids as projecting holographic images of possible futures to warn humanity against destructive paths. The Coroflot Mantis aliens report notes that some people return from the experience with the Mantids with a positive, uplifting perspective, claiming the beings have telepathically afforded comfort and even increased psychic abilities. Some reports describe Mantids singing or swaying with light frequencies as if teaching through sound and color. Hangar One's compilation mentions that Mantids are said to be masters of vibration, using sound and light to heal and create. Such descriptions fit a spiritual teacher archetype, emphasizing patience and nonviolence. Some accounts link Mantids to themes of personal transformation. The Hangar One narrative notes Linda Porter reported being shown concepts involving the human soul by a Mantis encounter. Other experiencers claim they gained empathy or a deeper understanding of their life mission after Mantis contact. Simon Parks and similar contactees report feeling unconditional love from the Mantids. Parks likens them to a higher priesthood overseeing human destiny. In these stories, humans are the students. The Mantids speak to the heart, imparting guidance on living in harmony. The idea is that Mantids, having evolved long ago, now act as cosmic guardians or shepherds, nudging humanity toward enlightenment and away from self-destruction. This aligns with the mythological motif of a teacher coming from the skies. Within the UFO community, sources like Angels of Light, which is a research group, and channeled entities like Bashar reinforce the shepherd image. For instance, some channel messengers describe Mantids as part of a hive consciousness focused on collective harmony, not individual dominance. Bashar, through channeled Daryl Anka, even suggests Mantids and Greys are not arranged hierarchically by will, but function as part of one unified intelligence. In this narrative, Mantids do possess higher-level organizing roles. They think like a chess computer, yet their purpose is allegedly to guide evolution along universal principles, rather than to subjugate. The Coroflot summary likewise mentioned Mantids showing the destruction of Earth, not to terrify, but to illustrate negative outcomes, implying a didactic rather than a punitive motive. Notably, some abductees describe feeling real affection for Mantid beings. Parks, after extensive contact, says the Mantids are proud, but also one instance describes them holding him above their heads and chirping happily. These personal experiences have led to a subset of experiencers to call them intergalactic grandmothers or cosmic priests. The Shepard hypothesis sees all these strange events, i.e. medical-looking tests, as ultimately benevolent. For example, if Mantids are collecting DNA or performing surgeries, it might be interpreted as part of a grand program to heal genetic diseases or uplift human physiology under their guidance. In this view, any physical discomfort endured by abductees is a necessary step on a path to a higher understanding. One meditation of this idea, Mantids, like benevolent doctors, may administer a cure hidden in the trauma. The Shepard perspective draws on long-standing human narratives of wise masters intervening in crises, so angels, bodhisattvas, avatars, etc. The imagery of the praying mantis itself, hands folded as if in prayer, bolsters this interpretation, casting them as silent monks observing our world. Some experiencers even report Mantids teaching them through telepathy, about higher dimensions or spiritual concepts, as if offering secret knowledge. For example, the Hangar One blog quotes a Mantid contactee. They dance through frequencies and alter their surroundings using mastery of vibrational energy to heal and create. Whether literal or psychological, these descriptions frame Mantids as guardians of universal harmony, who, in the words of a Parks-like account, ensure universal principles are adhered to in the human hybridization project. In sum, the Shepard hypothesis holds that Mantid NHIs are benevolent, evolutionary catalysts, spiritual allies, or interstellar shepherds guiding humanity's destiny. This interpretation treats the Mantid encounters as a kind of cosmic mentorship. The credibility of this view rests on selectively trusting the positive elements of witness reports and mythic resonance. Critics note that this hypothesis essentially elevates Mantids to the status of gods, projections of human hope, and warn it risks ignoring the objective reality of the reports. In the next session, we contrast this with the opposite paradigm, the genetic engineer hypothesis. The genetic engineer hypothesis sees Mantid NHIs not as spiritual mentors, but as detached scientists resembling entomological geneticists or futuristic surgeons with an agenda of controlling or altering human biology. In this framework, the Mantid's incredible intelligence and clinical demeanor imply a dispassionate approach. Humanity is experimental material, not a beloved flock. Many elements of the abduction narratives fit this interpretation. Witnesses often recall undergoing routine medical procedures, chest incisions without blood, tissue sampling, and examination of embryos. The Mantids are reported to oversee these procedures, sometimes while smaller greys operate the instruments. The overarching theme is one of observation and manipulation rather than teaching. A whole hybridization program described by researchers like David Jacob has Mantids as chief architects, genetic engineers, designing a new species with humans as raw DNA banks. According to some experiencer accounts, the Mantid's interest in human DNA is pragmatic. The Karl report states the Mantid's fascination with human DNA and behavior is evident in abduction accounts. Researchers paraphrase that the Mantids wish to conquer and control Earth rather than aid in human ascension. In other words, rather than kindly guides, Mantids might be, in some narratives, acting in self-interest, possibly establishing human hybrids as a workforce or ecological assistance on Earth. Those who favor this viewpoint to episodes where abductees are left feeling violated or used. Pregnancy by alien embryo is a common horror among abductees. In such stories, the Mantids are clinical about the process. The emotional well-being of the human seems irrelevant. They show little empathy as they inject or extract materials which suggest a purely experiential or experimental motive. Motivation aside, the portrayal of Mantids fits within them being engineers of life. Parks quotes some channeling sources who depict Mantids using frequency technology to manipulate energy in sterilized laboratory-like environments. For example, the Hangar One excerpt says Mantids don't consume physical food but absorb energy from light and sound and have third-eye lasers for healing or levitation. These are precisely the skills one might expect of advanced geneticists, control over matter and DNA via energy. In some accounts, Mantids are seen in white or silver lab coats. The loose robes could also signify sterile gowns, reinforcing the scientist image. The atmosphere of Mantid encounters often resembles a cross between a biotech lab and a temple, blurring the line between researcher and priest, but leaning heavily toward the former in tone. Notably, skeptics within ufology observe that the tall, black-hooded gray aliens often appear scared or subordinate in Mantid encounters. John Carpenter, who is an abductee turned researcher, asks rhetorically, why would anyone imagine a large bug directing an abduction experience? Subjects sense a higher level of wisdom and functioning in this type of entity. This quote captures the heart of the engineer view. Even from a purely narrative standpoint, mantids are consistently portrayed as in charge, as if they possess superior knowledge about biology and technology that they are applying to humans. Some theorize that the gray aliens themselves are subordinate or even tools of the mantids, further solidifying the idea that mantids are the ones doing the real work on human genetics. Another element supporting the engineer hypothesis is the absence of typical benevolence cues in many encounters. Reports seldom include mantids offering to answer life's big questions, give peaceful guidance, or provide any comforting words, except telepathic commands. Instead, mantids are often described as motionless and unemotional, observing data. A common thread is of humans waking from anesthesia to find medical instruments scattered around, with a mantid exit in stoic silence. The Karl article sums it up. After detailing how mantids can put people at ease, it ends by asking, are they benevolent overseers or intimidating figures conducting unsettling experiments? Only time will truly tell. This phrasing itself expresses the ambiguity, but leans towards suspicion that something unsettling is going on. In evaluating the engineer view biologically, note again that real mantises are largely solitary predators, not cooperative breeders. Earthly mantis females do use genetic strategy. Sexual cannibalism may nourish developing eggs, but they do not engage in long-term care of offspring. Thus, mantids experimenting on other species is an alien conceit or alien concept. However, if we imagine evolutionary advanced mantid species, it might have shifted from prey to predator and on to technician, analogous to how many top predators like wolves use teamwork and planning. The mantid engineer is like an apex predator turned rancher, raising cattle of a kind. Whether such a species would be morally detached or ethical is an open question. Ethically, the engineer hypothesis confronts the darkest implications: human beings as laboratory animals. It suggests an external entity is robbing individuals of their autonomy. If mantids have the power to chemically inseminate and harvest DNA at will, then free will, the ability of humans to make independent choices, is at stake. We would then be living under a form of cosmic genetic control. This raises profound questions. If our very biology is tinkered with, are we truly human by our own definition? If love and life can be engineered, what becomes of concepts like soul, dignity, or consent? We will explore these philosophical issues next, but the basic picture of the engineer scenario is clear. It treats humanity as experimenta vitae, subjects of an advanced science. Are mantid aliens even biologically possible or plausible? To consider this, we must extrapolate from our entomological data. On the one hand, mantises do show remarkable sensory abilities: stereoscopic vision for depth, keen detection of movement, and even complex learning, as noted. These traits could, in principle, evolve to higher levels. In a very different environment, say on a planet where large insects dominate and ecological pressures reward cognition, an insectoid species might develop greater brain capacity. For instance, some cockroaches and bees, close mantid relatives, have up to 1 million neurons. If an alien mantid had 100-fold or 1,000-fold more neurons and a correspondingly larger brain case, it could achieve advanced intelligence. The Hanger 1 account, for example, claims mantids evolved hundreds of millions of years ago on a planet dominated by insect life and became the first to develop complex awareness. Such longevity could allow for sustained evolutionary innovation. Additionally, mantids are predators. Predatory lifestyles tend to select for higher cognition, tracking prey, ambush tactics, etc. This gives some plausibility to an intelligent mantid-like race. However, significant constraints exist. First, insect brains are wired differently from vertebrate brains. Even if we scale up neuron count, insect neural architecture with fused ganglia and decentralized processing might limit certain cognitive capacities, like abstract reasoning. Second, arthropod biomechanics pose problems. Large insects typically cannot support their weight without different atmospheric conditions, with higher oxygen content or gravity. A 7-foot mantid on Earth would need either an exoskeleton unimaginably strong or would need to be internally skeletoned. in which case it's no longer truly an insect. Third, mantids are cold-blooded. On Earth, this restricts activity levels and requires temperature control. An alien mantid would likely need endothermy, or warm-bloodedness, to function like humans or greys, again pushing the form away from insecta. Also, insect vision has limits. Compound eyes provide wide angles, but less acuity than human eyes. Mantids compensate with motion detection and small, simple eyes for detail. Telepathy, as reported, would require a brain even more advanced. This is purely speculative. In short, maintaining all mantis features, mantid head, multi-jointed limbs, chitinous carapace, while scaling up intelligence and size stretches credulity under Earth-like physics. Many alien biologists would argue an intelligent species might develop a roughly humanoid form for mobility advantages, and an insect-like version is just possible if evolution had very different constraints. Some enthusiasts point out that mantises are among the few insects that exhibit courtship dance and parental cannibalism, hinting at a complex mating system. But even if mantids are clever hunters, human-like consciousness, language, symbolic thought, culture is a leap. All right, another article itself notes surprise that mantises can learn to catch fish, implying they are more cognitively flexible than thought. But it does not claim mantises approach mammalian intelligence. Therefore, from a biological perspective, mantid NHIs could only plausibly exist if their home planet's ecology permitted extremely large insect forms with large brains. So, for instance, low gravity, high oxygen, low evolutionary time. This is not possible, but it means mantid aliens would not be just giant Earth mantises. They would be a very alien species that only superficially resembles Mantodia. In human accounts, though, they do closely resemble our mantises, implying either genuine ETs incredibly similar by coincidence or a psychological archetype. We will keep this plausibility question in mind when weighing the two scenarios. Even if physically possible, a mantis-like intelligence directing Earth's fate is extraordinary, and we must consider non-literal explanations. So, for instance, psychological or sociological, for why people perceive them as such. Now, let's talk about ethical and philosophical implications. Whether mantid NHIs are friendly or hostile, their alleged existence raises profound ethical questions. Free will is chief among them. If some external species is orchestrating human genetics or evolution, humans' autonomy would be fundamentally compromised. The so-called alien agenda described by some UFO researchers explicitly involves sacrificing human free will. By covertly manipulating our perceptions and choices, an alien force depends heavily upon us, relinquishing our collective free will. This claim, if true, has terrifying implications. It suggests that mantid engineers might deliberately dull our critical thinking to conduct experiments unopposed. Conversely, as shepherds, they might claim to preserve free will by stealthily guiding us toward what they deem best for our species. Philosophically, both cases challenge the notion of human agency. If we are biologically altered to change our nature, are we still the same moral agents? The question of identity and humanity also arises. If mantids create human-alien hybrids, what is the moral status of these half-breeds? If a human being carries alien DNA, is that person still fully human or partly an alien? These parallels current debates on gene editing. Ethicists caution that germline modification, i.e. making heritable changes, could threaten our sense of identity. Imagine an extreme version where an alien species splices itself into us. The concept of personal and species identity becomes blurred. Some abductees have reported that after hybrid pregnancies, they felt a kind of dissociation or estrangement from their former selves. This existential side of mantid contact is seldom addressed by UFO researchers, but it echoes questions in philosophy of mind. What defines us if our bodies are not exclusively our own design? There are also societal and power dynamics to consider. If mantid NHIs treat humans as subjects, it introduces a cosmic scale version of colonialism. Ethically, using another sentient species, us, for experiments without consent is generally viewed as egregiously immoral in human terms. Imagine biomedical testing on humans without permission. The clandestine nature of the abduction suggests a violation of universal rights. Some abductees perceive the Mantids as violating human rights on an interplanetary scale. This ties into larger issues of conspiracy and authority. Many ufologists interpret government secrecy, the supposed cover-up of alien agendas, as evidence that humans as a society have lost control over their destiny. The Mantid scenario thus doubles as a metaphor for real-world ethical violations, unapproved experimentation, manipulation by elites, etc., which can be psychologically distressing even without literal aliens. From a philosophical standpoint, the mantle of intentionality is uncomfortable. If Mantids are engineers, every human developmental step has meaning within their scheme. Questions arise like those asked by John Mack. Are we merely cattle in an alien farm? The shepherd view casts them as benevolent stewards, but then the philosophical question is, do they have the right to intervene in our evolution, even benevolently? Here the ethics become subtle. Our own history debates the morality of playing God via technology. We worry over genetic engineering in humans. For example, genome ethicists insist germline editing should be approached with extreme caution. Mantids conducting germline alterations on us without democratic debate would violate our ethical norms. Yet shepherd advocates might argue that Mantids as a more advanced intelligence have a broader perspective and can justify it as a form of cosmic fatherliness. This paternalism is theologically reminiscent of doctrines like divine predestination, but it clashes with secular values of self-determination. The Mantid paradox forces us to question, if someone or something has the power to direct our future, should we allow them to? And if so, on what terms? Finally, the societal impact of widespread belief in Mantid aliens is notable. The UFO literature itself warns that seeing ourselves as passive subjects can be disempowering. Stephen Diamond comments on this tendency. He argues that attributing human creativity to aliens takes a cynical and disempowering view of humanity. In other words, whether or not Mantids are real, believing that Xenomantis guides our evolution can undermine human initiative. Cultural implications include new religious movements or cults forming around Mantids, or conversely, deep anxiety and paranoia. Ethically, these beliefs influence behavior. Some experiencers become activists, warning others about the alien agenda. The possibility of Mantid engineers that thus touches on free will, our beliefs self-chosen, responsibility, who's in control, and collective identity. Are we one world or part of something else? In conclusion, both hypotheses challenge fundamental concepts. If Mantids are shepherds, humanity must grapple with the idea of a higher intelligence guiding us, touching on spirituality and destiny. If Mantids are engineers, we face the ethics of consent and the horror of being a lab subject. In either case, we have to consider the value we place on autonomy. Our analysis shows that there is no straightforward ethical solution without more evidence. The safest conclusion from a philosophical point of view is that we should at least apply critical thinking, question authority, preserve human rights, and be skeptical of outlandish claims. As with any powerful technology, for instance, genetic engineering, vigilance and broad discourse are essential. And now we move on to symbolism, archetypes, and psychology. Beyond the literal debate lies the realm of the symbolic and psychological. Why does the image of a Mantid alien recur? Jungian psychology suggests that unexpected yet pervasive motifs often emerge from the collective unconscious, a shared pool of archetypes and symbols deep within humanity. Stephen Diamond argues that alien imagery functions like the archetype of God or devil in our psyche. Remarkably similar images of extraterrestrials appear across cultures without any contact, as if coded in our collective mind. The mantis specifically may symbolize contradiction: prayer versus predation, stillness versus sudden violence, male versus female, since many mantis mythologies emphasize gender roles. It conjures an instinctual ambivalence, much like the dream symbol interpretations of the mantis as representing both patience and potential menace. Though scholarly dream dictionaries are scarce. From a symbolic standpoint, the mantis's stance, hands raised in a pose of prayer, taps into religious connotations. In many cultures, folded hands signify supplication or meditation. The mantis looks like it is engaged in constant silent prayer or contemplation. In fact, early Christian folk symbolism even likened the praying mantis to a nun, earned its nickname like praying nun. Yet humans also know the mantis as a predator that can behead its mate. This duality fits Jung's idea of archetypes as embodying polarities. The mantis could represent the wise old woman, the crone figure of quiet wisdom, and the terrifying Jungian shadow, the hidden predator within. Jungians might see the mantid encounter as an individuation process. Facing the mantis in a dream or abduction could symbolize confronting one's own instincts or fearsome inner guide. Freudian or sexual interpretations have also been suggested informally. For example, the mantid has been associated, especially in dream lore, with castration anxiety or erotic aggression due to the sexual cannibalism of females. One spiritual site bluntly claimed that dreaming of a mantis might signify castration, sexual violence, or deranged passion. Although not scholarly, this reflects an undercurrent of human fear. It is tempting to view the mantid aliens as the embodiment of forbidden, insatiable desire. They want our genes, consume our autonomy, and conversely, in New Age contexts, the mantis is a symbol of calm focus, meditation, and messages from higher realms. This mirrors the two ufological narratives of predator versus prophet. From a psychoanalytic perspective, one might argue that mantid alien abductions could be expressions of trauma or mental conflict. Trauma psychologists note that abduction reports share patterns with PTSD and sleep paralysis accounts. The mantid image might be a manifestation of stress. Some researchers think that mantids, with their insect-like appearance, are the evolved stage of the deep fear of bugs of the unknown. According to Jung-inspired analysts, the mantis could symbolize the archaic self within each person, something alien and instinctual. Diamond's article implies that one should ask, what possible archetypal or personal significance might this symbolic imagery convey? If hundreds of abductees independently describe mantids in similar ways, Jungian thought would suggest that mantids might be an archetype of transformation. They eat the old, the mate, and propagate new life, eggs, metaphorically forcing change. Collective unconscious aside, individual psychology likely plays a role. Many reported abductions begin in childhood. Some psychologists propose these memories could stem from ordinary childhood trauma transmuted into an alien narrative during hypnosis. The mantid's eeriness suits dreamlike memory. Human brains are adept at finding patterns. A human seeing shifting shadows and feeling paralyzed can interpret vague sensations as an insectoid figure. Carl Jung wrote about menacing figures in dreams, often being projections of the anima animus or repressed feelings. A mantis-like figure might personify aggression or critical judgment from one's own psyche. In this line, mantid aliens are analogous to medieval demons or guardian angels, personified mythic images. Finally, the mantis imagery taps into the archetypal themes of evolution and destiny. Mantises in myth, especially Kagan, are linked to creation. Jungian analysis of UFO lore in general suggests that these stories emerge when humanity is at a cultural crossroads. Some say the surge of alien symbols reflects anxiety about technological change and environmental crisis. The mantid, an insect in intimate contact with nature, reminds us of ancient natural wisdom in an age of machines. Diamond's point is that whether or not aliens exist, these narratives push us to take responsibility for our fate instead of attributing our destiny to them. In other words, the mantid could symbolize both the inner teacher and inner tyrant that we must confront to grow. In conclusion, the psychological angle suggests that mantid alien reports are as much cultural artifacts as literal descriptions. They evoke deep, contradictory symbols. The mantid is both a sage and a monster. Jungian theory would urge us to integrate the mantis image into our understanding of ourselves rather than leap to cosmic explanations. Nonetheless, for the experiencers, the encounters feel profoundly real, and thus interpreting them through symbolism is part of making sense of a baffling narrative. The recurring theme across all layers is that mantis aliens, whether real or dreamed, compel us to ask, what do we fear and what do we revere? The Mantis paradox remains unresolved, but our comprehensive review has clarified the landscape of meaning. Biologically, real praying mantises are specialized insects with impressive hunting skills but severe physical limitations. Mythologically, mantises have long stood at the crossroads of divine wisdom and dangerous cunning in human imagination. In modern UFO lore, Mantid NHIs occupy the topsy-turvy border between science and spirituality, sometimes angelic, sometimes alien, often commanding respect. We've critically examined two poles of interpretation: the shepherd view, which casts mantids as benevolent guides showing humans the way forward, and the engineer view, which treats them as amoral scientists with a hidden agenda. Neither hypothesis can be confirmed or dismissed without better evidence. Our entomological analysis shows that any truly mantis-like alien would likely differ greatly from Earth's Mantidae, raising questions that witness descriptions are literal. Conversely, the psychological analysis suggests those descriptions are not random. Mantises fit archetypal patterns in our collective and personal unconscious. This does not prove the mantids are real, but it encourages caution in taking abduction narratives at face value. Philosophically, the shepherd versus engineer debate forces us to confront themes of free will, consent, and the human condition. If there are mantid entities caring for us, we must wrestle with humility and gratitude or subservience, depending on perspective. If they are manipulating us, it highlights our vulnerability and the need to guard our autonomy. In either case, it leads us to reflect on humanity's place in the universe as we passive sheep, active stewards. Wait, are we passive sheeps, active stewards, or something else entirely? The UFO narrative also reveals more about human hopes and fears, whether of benevolent salvation or cold exploitation, than it may about outer space itself. For scholars and students of the phenomenon, the key takeaway is that mantid aliens must be understood in context. Scientifically, entomology constrains what is plausible. Anthropologically, myth and archetype shape what is reportable. Future research could benefit from more methodical fieldwork, collecting new testimonies, analyzing sleep state physiology, etc., and from dialogue between UFO researchers and behavioral scientists. Until then, the paradox remains a fascinating interplay of biology, culture, and belief. In a sense, the mantis paradox is a mirror. It reflects our reverence for nature's mysteries and our anxieties about the unknown. Whether as shepherd or engineer, the Mantid NHI symbol challenges us to examine the values we hold dear: compassion versus control, faith versus skepticism. The ultimate truth may lie somewhere beyond either extreme, but exploring both illuminates the question of what it means to be human in a vast universe. And that is all she wrote, folks. Oh, man, we still have 55 minutes. So let's just go to the comments and see how we're doing, or see how I did, because most of the comments would have come while I was... Good to see you, Gray Al. Okay. Scott Ian is saying AI and I, Rasta sounding. Okay. Indrid Cold is saying, do you think I could kill a mantid with a raid bug spray? Probably not. Solite US Expat says Sean is most likely going to hit 20K by the end of the year. I didn't think, like a week ago, I would have said no. Things had slowed down. That was probably not going to happen. But after the Giorgiani episode, I mean, there's a chance I might hit it, like, because I have another Giorgiani episode in the quiver. So as soon as that puppy gets launched, we'll probably be halfway there before the middle of this month. So right now I'm cautiously optimistic that we may hit it, that we're probably definitely going to hit it this year. And what was I going to say? And could potentially even hit it as early as the end of this month. We'll see. And there's someone I just talked to over the past few days who claims to have the ability to, you know, get intercessors to help out from call it the metaphysical realm. And I said, okay, if I get to 100,000 by the end of the year, which seems to me, extremely low probability, then I will like reveal that it worked. But we'll see. I'm skeptical because it's too good to be true. Um, okay, so Gray Owl is saying the Gray Owl tapping into a couple Hennessy eggnogs to prep for an unexpected snowstorm this evening. Up I, the socialist bloc known. Yeah, what the hell happened with all these ostriches? I mean, like, your government is freaking barbaric. I mean, totally fascist. I mean, I've never seen anything I mean, it's just evil. It's just some evil stuff, man. Okay, so Alley Cat say, I think it's fair. AI only adds structure to your raw thinking analysis for clarity. Wait, Mothman trying to kill a mantid? Why the bug beef? Where did you hear that, Logan? That sounds crazy. Let's see. Just going through these pretty quick. Hey, Woo Riders DG. Good to see you. Where's Richard Grieco? Where is he? Where is he? We got to get Grieco on the show. Thank you. I appreciate you, Woo Riders DG. Hope all is well. Yeah, it is. Hey, Heisen Girl. Good to see you. Let's see. Lots of comments about mantids and eggnog. So I'm just kind of getting through those. Eugenio Vasquez says, thank you for the show tonight. Interesting topic. Thank you. I hope I delivered on it. Hey, Jalal Jalal. Good to see you. Angela Colum, I think, yeah. Well, you heard what I said. So I will I'll just keep it at that. You know what I'm talking about. Let's see. Yep. The Onkside says the Mantis praise. They are projections of our own belief. So it is funny and ironic in many ways. Yeah, thank you, Solite X. Yeah, that's a good point. Let me just throw that down. Hit that like button, subscribe, all the things. All the things. Now I gotta find my way back to the comments. Here we go. Oh, for Christ's sake. I don't even know where I left off now because oh, here we go. Yeah, yeah. McCandlish was the ARV guy, 100%. The flux liner or whatever. So I don't know why. I think that was an AI hallucination, to be honest. Are you guys just going to get the purpa drunk? The purpa drank? All right. Sorry, I'm just going through. So Hello FS is saying the Nazca cave footage is the only thing I found that has them in a physical form. Yikes. I'm sorry to hear that, Jalal Jalal. Spilled a huge cup of Pete's coffee on her keyboard and lost a bunch of keys. Yikes. Hey, no worries, Spider Bite, but you shouldn't have said that you missed the start because Grey Owl's going to come and shame you. There it is. I didn't even see the comment, but I knew it was coming. So I warned you, and you got it. So Grey Owl's the enforcer of tardiness. All right, I'm going to get a quick drink. All right. If you're just joining us now and you're looking for a show about the Mantids, just start at the beginning. And then, because I've gotten through the scheduled programs or the regular scheduled program. Yeah. So WM Arthur is saying, I'd like to know what they're doing with those hybrids who can't come here because they're too odd looking. They'll never know their human mother or the Earth experience. I'm not sure they're really missing that much. If they get to be in space and get to avoid much of the suffering that we have to go through. Yeah, so W author, I don't like feeling helpless to stop them. Well, I also don't like feeling helpless against California taxes. So I prefer strange alien beings to the slick-haired psychopath who is my governor. All right, so Hello FS is asking, has anyone felt like they interacted with them? I've dealt with them and they have been helpful, lots of deeper meanings, messages, seeing actual mantids before a close death. Interesting. Thank you for sharing. That's fascinating. Okay. Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's right, Angela. Oh, hell yeah, definitely going to hit 20K. I hope I hit 100K. Let's see. That's a kind of, I don't know if that is, well, I'm not going to say it because even if that is what you're saying, WM Arthur is true, YouTube will probably strike me for medical disinformation, even if it's true, especially if it's true, actually. But so I can't read that. Mm-hmm. China. Yeah, that's the crazy thing about it. So Solite US expat is saying, I heard on Redacted by the lady that owns that ostrich farm that those bugs have the antibodies to cure avian flu or something like that. Yeah, which probably says that the psychopaths who are the psychopathic elite are probably going to release something like that on the human population. So those ostriches would not be helpful to be alive. Yep. So the lady that owns the farm was unredacted. And yeah, I can't. I'm delving too much into medical stuff, so I can't talk about it. Yep. So Solite US Expat said I tried looking up on Google about McCandlish, and I didn't see anything about him talking about it. Yeah, I think Google hallucinated, or not Google, but the AI hallucinated on that. What? How are you paying 60,000 in property taxes in California? Is that a year, or is that just your entire the entire time you've been here? Because I mean, if it's the entire time you've been here, let me think how much I've paid. I would have paid so. Um, I would have paid close to $150,000 in property taxes since I've owned my house. But that's actually cheap. If you live in other states, uh, with like as a percentage of what their homes are worth, it's much higher. That's the only place in California where you actually get a break. Who knows? Huh? Oh, so that's not bad at all. That's a bargain. It's like 2 grand a year. That's cheap. No, I haven't. I literally haven't had time. If, so Solite is asking, did you ever ask anyone from Future Forecasting if they saw any other countries being involved when China attacks Taiwan in late 2027? I'm guessing October, according to their. It won't be in October. The tides aren't good for that. If they do it, the only times they would do it would be April, May, or August. That's your window. Not in California. They're not. That's the beauty of California. All they can do in California is increase the property value of your house by 2% per year, and then if there's any like local things on that. Whereas a lot of other states will just say, "What's your house worth?" Okay, you know, uh, and then they just take a set percentage of that. So that's the only place where California is ahead of the country in terms of having reasonable property taxes. That's why when people own a house in California, they never sell it. Well, the last time I did it, it was like when the tides are the most favorable. It was April, May, and then August. Yep, that's right. Well, they're building a factory in the U.S. just in case it happens, because if the Chinese take Taiwan, we're screwed. All right, I am finally caught up. Good lord. All right, what else do folks want to talk about? Trump announcing nuclear testing during the meeting with Xi was suspicious. That's LOF5. Yeah, it's not great. It's not great, but oops. Yeah, we can't no talk about medicines, please. The last time I talked about medicines on a live stream, YouTube literally pulled the live stream. So please don't. Yeah, please no talk of medicines. Like yeah, it's out of control. It is totally out of control. Like I don't want to get a strike. I don't want to get any of that stuff. Yeah, it's totally stupid, but it. These people are fascists. I mean, they're out of control. Like hugely anti First Amendment. It's gotten better, but you have to self censor, or you could lose. I could lose 4 years of work for stupid shit. No, I haven't yet. I literally haven't had any. I haven't had any time. Like it's just constant work. So I will probably hit him up in like a week or two because I just again I don't have. I have like a pile of interviews to do and edit, and then it's just there's just a ton of work. Yeah, but again, Spiritual Ascension said we can't be worried about them censoring the truth. Yeah, I'm not worried about that. I'm worried that they'll take a channel that I've developed, close to 800 or over 700 episodes on, or 700 videos, and just take it away overnight. No explanation. No, it's just an area I just don't touch anymore. Gray Owl is saying, Sean, would you mind providing a synopsis of your thoughts on the complete philosophical works of Plato and how they relate to our understanding of free will and determined versus I don't know enough about Plato to do any of that. No, don't WM author, don't worry about it at all. I'm not upset with you or anything like that. You don't need to remove any comments or anything. Like totally fine. I haven't talked about them and I haven't endorsed pro or con, so I think we're okay. So for all medical advice, just go to a professional. I personally don't, because I don't trust any authority anymore. So, but I should maybe just find a good doctor that you trust and that has not steered you wrong, but somebody who's professional, and then just leave it at that. Oh yeah, I have words that are censored out, like pre-censored, but they're not related to medical. All right. Man, I have so much stuff that still has to get done though. So spiritual ascension, but these truthful topics are going to be targeted. It comes to the territory we don't pacify. Yeah, my view is if they censor it, then whatever it is true. Like that's my default now. Like if they try to censor it, that means it's true. Yeah, so spiritual ascension just says facts. That's true. If they try to censor it, it is true. Or there's a high likelihood of being true. They've pretty much blown their wad on this. in terms of like just disinformation and whatnot. Let's see. How are we doing? Oh, this stream's, I think, doing pretty well. Better than normal. Yes, the Hunter Biden laptop was exactly one of those. Yeah, they just out themselves. Oh, UK is out of control. Like, if they tried that shit in this country, there would literally be violence. But they've all had their weapons confiscated, so they have nothing to fight except clubs. I mean, so Solite US expat says it sucks. We had the First Amendment and we aren't allowed to talk about certain things and certain countries doing horrible things. Oh yeah. I'm not. Yeah, let's not touch that category. But we all know which certain country we're talking about. But we can talk about the utterly incompetent government of the United Kingdom. And apparently, Prince William's talking about like, oh, we have to put aside our differences and confront climate change. No, we don't. How about you don't fly on all your private jets? And by the way, you're just a human parasite. You don't really have a job. You were born to be a celebrity just because you were born. So anything the British royalty says, just ignore it. Oh, I've seen that. Solite US expat says some dude had the police come to his house in Texas who posted about a certain country in the Middle East. Yeah, I saw that. And he just told him just like get the F out. So hello FS says, what are your thoughts on Mantid energy soul surgery? Something related to chakras and kundalini. I don't know enough about it. People have reported things about it, but I'm at the stage of my life that if I don't have like a personal connection to something, I will talk about these things, but I have no way of knowing if they're true unless it's personally happened to me, which it hasn't. Oh, yeah. Yeah, the AFD people. Did you hear Germany had 11 persons from one political party turned up Muerta? Yeah. Yeah. Look, the Russians, once the Russians finish with Ukraine, they're going to, like, if they wanted to, they could, Poland might slow them down, but they would sweep right through Germany and France, like, no problem. Because, like, there aren't any warriors left. They're all, like, fascist, chiding Karens that are in charge. So Solite US expat says some say there could be a civil war that might break out in England. I hope it does, because those people are being oppressed right now. So Evan Hudson is saying, that's freaking weird, man. I was just posting about this exact topic elsewhere a few hours ago. Mantids are strange. I get the feeling they are like beekeepers and our conscious energy is the honey. Yeah, it could be. It could be the whole loosh kind of theory. So WM author says, so we can't talk about the 51 not so intelligent officials stupid enough to put their names on a list who lied in unison, not collusion. Oh, you mean like Brennan, like that piece of crap? Yeah. Okay, so Solite US expat is saying, I heard about that. There's a German reporter that is seeking asylum in the US. She has all the evidence. She has been threatened. Of course she has. So, yeah, I have a friend who used to work in CIA, and he hates that Brennan guy. And you listen to John Kuriaku, and like what Brennan did to him was just beyond the pale. Was absolutely beyond the pale. Like that guy is If there's anyone who's like, if there's a hell, that guy is 100% going there. Yeah, it's probably John Kuriaku. If you listen to his story, it's messed. So Solite US Expat says, I saw the video on, I think, the Jimmy Dore show about some dude calling up Brennan. It's probably John Kuriaku. Yeah, yeah. I'm not going to read that comment, but I am going to say not a fan. Yeah, he's not a good human being. So Sinner 1337 is saying, give it to me straight. Is 3i Atlas a Mantid combo? I have no idea what 3i Atlas is. There's so much conspiracy stuff. But Jaleh Jalal has an answer. It says, no, Sinner. No. definitely not. So who knows? I'm increasingly of the belief that all these UFO hearings are a distraction from the real topic, which is human potential. That's where I stand right now. You could start with the double slit experiment, right? Which is basically involves the observer effect, and reality doesn't manifest until you're observing it. So I think all psychic abilities, magic, prayer, all that stuff has been shown empirically to work. It takes studies from Dr. Dean Raid and things like that. And I think that we possess the ability to shape reality in ways that we can't even possibly imagine. And that's what the big secret is. And they don't want people doing that. So they distract us with all this other nonsense. And yeah, so Solite US Expat is saying future forecasting got data of 3i Atlas sending a probe to Earth. You can see it on their free video. Yeah, who knows? But the bottom line is the whole disclosure movement, I think, is just it's a distraction. It's just counterintelligence on all sides. It's kayfabe. The real reality is that a lot of the things that people see, they're creating. Their subconscious is creating. I'm not saying all of it is, but I think there's a huge element of that involved in all this kind of stuff. So Angela Cullum is saying absolutely 100%. So, we'll see. Maybe in future podcasts we'll run some like large scale experiments, right? Where through the collective will of people, we make positive things happen and just see if they happen. I think that's the best way to grow. You just, oh, for sure. Hello, FS is saying Luis Elizondo is a government plant. That's 100%. 100%. His entire career, he was counterintelligence, right? You think he's suddenly a whistleblower? Of course. He's just continuing to do counterintelligence. So Roger Claiborne is saying, I agree. Developing potential is a logical progression and requires experimentation with an open mind. That's a good question. Solite US Expat is saying, how many interviews do you have lined up of new people? I'll answer that in a second. Yeah, I know. It's a dangerous idea too. This is why I just tried to say focus on positive outcomes. But anyway, in terms of people I have lined up, so I just did two. I mean, it was 1 2-hour Peter Karl interview. I'm going to split it into two, so I have content. I have an interview with a film producer about a documentary they have coming out on Rendlesham Forest, or a documentary they have about that. And then I have an interviewer with 1 or 2 interviews that I'm doing tomorrow with Mr. X on future forecasting, who spent some time in the IC community, actually his entire career, or most of his career. So that's like 5 interviews. Oh, and then Dr. Joe Galloway. I'm going to do 2 interviews sometime in December. So Peter Carroll invented chaos magic. He is sometimes described as the greatest living magician on earth since Crowley. He wrote a book called Liber Noel and Psychonaut, Kia and Chaos, I think, and another book called Epoch. So he's a chaos magician. Oh, hello. FS says, I had Lou lie to my face about his work. Video on my channel about an interview with a Tic Tac reptilian witness, Trish Bishop. Yeah, like, look, no shade on Lou Elizondo, but like, there's a reason he doesn't respond to me when I ask him to come on, right? Like, he's running a counterintelligence operation probably, and he's just doing his job. That's just his job. That's all. Yeah, I actually had corresponded with Jamie Foxx, and then he just ghosted me. So I got his email address and everything, but no. Like, so Solite US Expat saying, I wish you got Jamie Foxx on. Yeah, so do I. So do I. But he ghosted me, so I'm not gonna. The intelligence community. Okay. Sorry, not Galloway, Gallenberger. Yes. Yeah, so I will talk to him soon. Yeah, there's a reason it's not well known. Like there's a good reason. Because it works. Well, I'm not, it's not like I'm doing it, but I'm curious about it. Spiritual Ascension says stay away from chaos magic. All right, what else are we talking about? Um all right, so ask Dr. Gallagher about the woo I told you about in the email. That will perk up everybody's ears. Okay, I'll have to revisit it. Can you resend it to me in the background just so I can like jog my memory tonight? Okay, so Roger Claiborne says, "Gotta find a logical way your experiment might be possible to put you in the right frequency. Develop a logical physics model of how it might be possible. Worked for me in the past." Okay. Yeah, maybe the Messiah is peak level reality warper. I forget what I was gonna. Oh, all right. I have to pimp my books. I'm sorry, but I have to because I don't like nobody's buying them. Like they're just not. And maybe you don't like that kind of thing, but like it's pretty. I mean, not depressing, but I'm just trying to find them now. Oh, for goodness sake. All right, I'm just gonna oh, for Christ's sake. There we go. So Solite US Expert, how about getting that metaphysical dude that is sending you 100K through the power of intention to send it Okay, they're here. So if you can make that happen, well, let's just try to make the 100K happen first before we spend any energy on anything else. But they're here. They know. They're listening. Pimp My Pages by MTV. Okay. I don't know if we're a cosmic meme on side, but all right. I'm just gonna pimp one of these things. Just give me a moment. Or two of them. What the heck? All right. So and all right. So this is my third collection. Okay. It's called Hellhold and Other Stories. Many horror novels, not horror novels, but short stories. Like, you know, even the Kindle version. Like, trust me, it's good stuff. It's really good stuff. And then the other, so here's this cover. I think is pretty awesome. But even just the Kindle, like the Kindle version. So, and then the second, and I released. Oh, for Christ's sake! I'm not even getting like search love. And do not buy the hardcover. It has pictures in it and things like that. But Necromancer and Other Stories, just 18 tales about post-apocalyptic intrigue, arachnid doppelgangers, invasive hyperdimensional alien species, Mesopotamian demons, hunting necromancers and ghosts during the Russo-Japanese War, and leadership lessons from a Martian psychopath. So this is my second complete collection. Let me go back to the first one. Or the third one. So this is just 15 tales about demonic artifacts lurking in hidden dimensions, the lure of forbidden knowledge, the dark side of divinity, the wages of totalitarianism, robotic horrors, artificial intelligence gone terribly wrong, biological monstrosities, and the twisted end of innocence. So, one of the stories in here was in on Vice Media, all that good stuff. So please definitely do check them out. All right. With that, I will stop boring you with this information. But if you want to find these particular books, literally in the description, there's a link that you can click on for either of them. So if you like to support the channel in a way that you actually get something out of it, it's not like a super thanks or something like that, where you just you don't really, you get, I guess, a feeling that you supported it, but this, you actually get a physical good. So anyway, I'll stop right there, but I appreciate you all. And if there's any way you can support the writing. And Gray Owl has bought my first anthology, or collection, which isn't as great as the other the newest ones, because they're older stories when I was still kind of learning, and he enjoyed it. I think Gray Owl is here, and he can either attest to it or say that I'm BSing, but okay, let me find out. Where we left off. Okay, who's here? Where? Why? Oh, well, that's the thing. It's got to be positive. It's got to help. I mean, help it, like winning, like Mega Millions or Powerball. Like, it only helps one person. And if I were going to do it on this show, I'd probably do it for me, and then that would just be bad. That's just it's bad in all sorts of ways, or it's self-serving in all sorts of like ugly ways. So Yeah, I know. I'm pimping my wares. How did we get here? I don't remember. What, the books? I don't know. I think I just gate crashed on that one. A night, yeah, romance novel. Yes, they're all very romantic. Okay. Yeah, those are literal eyeballs on his skin. That's part of the story. You'd have to get it to to do that. Like both those covers are based on stories that are actually in the volumes. Yeah. I do not encourage people who um, are looking for self-help to buy those collections. They're dark, very dark. Yeah, Alien Abattoir is the first collection. So thank you, Grail. Thank you, Solite US Expat. I'll check it out after the stream. Okay, so Solite US Expat saying Dr. Tom Gallenberger. I thought it was Joe Gallenberger, but from the Monroe Institute talks about using heart-based coherence to influence reality. Dice floating, a woman turning into light while chanting Om. Yeah, it fits. Actually, that's a good point. It fits exactly what I was talking about human potential, and even a car passing through a log. Yep. 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 Just be a Mantid instead. Yep. Yeah. So Solite US Expat is saying stupid ChatGPT got it wrong. I just typed it to try to make it short. Yeah, I imagine. Yeah, I imagine it did get it wrong. So it's like people are already dropping off. That's not great. All right. Ugh. They probably started dropping off when I started pimping my wares. We got up to I think as high as 90, and then it dropped by. Yeah, let's try to get likes to 100 and see where that goes. I mean, we have 11 minutes. 11 minutes. So let's see if we can make it happen. All right, num's starting to increase again. Oh, and just kind of hovering between 72 and 74. Yep. Yeah, demons are here too. Alongside spiritual ascension says. Yeah, Angela Cullum is saying, "Make it happen, please." Do these guys that do metaphysics have a paid service? Mm. Sinner 1337 says he was briefed on the legend of the nobody. But the echo lives on. Roger Claiborne is saying, "Don't know what your true potential is until you try. Your potential is just that, and that all of us are developed equally. Takes thought, time, and work." Echoes mean so much. Be careful what you say out there. You might get an answer back in your own voice. Onkside says. By the way, saw yet another owl last night. Got it on camera like I always do. So I have a Substack that, I mean, right now it's free because I don't have any disciplined posting schedule or anything like that. But It's called Along the Path Darkly, and it's just whenever I have like weird dreams or these owl encounters, I just post them there. But I've had a lot in the last 2 weeks, at least 3. But I've been recording them. That's where I record them there. At some point, I'll probably have like some version of a paid subscription, but I'm not there yet. Instead of putting those like notes in my community tab on YouTube, which it's impossible to search or find things, I'm just doing it now in Substack because it's documented in a more precise and better way. So for instance, this morning I had a dream about some war in Eastern Europe, like not Ukraine, but like the Balkans. It was just kind of weird. I didn't know what to make of it, so I just wrote it down. But you can check that out, subscribe to it. But it's called Along the Path Darkly. So yeah, well, I mean, it's, as far as I know, they're owls, but I'm surrounded by them all the time. So we'll see. And I feel protected by them. I don't fear any fear. But last night I saw one on a tree, and then I had one swoop over my head, like a separate one. And I have 2 videos that I took of the one on the tree, but when it swooped over my head, like my camera dropped, like I kind of like was shocked a little bit because it surprised me. But I saw like the shadow at night with the moon kind of up in the upper sky kind of. I saw the shadow fly over. I'm like, what the heck? Anybody else freeze frame? Yeah. Spiritual Ascension says, so long as you're cautious. Yep. Oh, say more. I mean, it scared me because I wasn't expecting, like, and it had to have been an owl because the wingspan was massive. And there's nothing else that flies at night like that. I mean, bats fly, but they're much smaller. Oh yeah, I never see any women in white any time when there's owls around me. Oh, sorry. So Spiritual Ascension writes, if you see a woman in white accompanying that owl or shifting from that owl, run. Yeah, there was no people around at all, other than in my house. But again, these things happen at night, typically, or dusk. The second Jason Giorgiani video drops on Monday. Yeah, but there's no water birds like with wingspans that large where I am. Like it was a great horned owl. It was like 5 or 6 feet across in terms of the wingspan. Yeah, maybe. Spiritual Ascension says, I still think you see a lot of birds because you're linked through your avian lineage. And now we're back up to 81. How are we doing on likes, by the way? What's the like count right now? Because I'm not looking at the YouTube thing. I'm pretty blind. Anyone? Bueller. 50. You got 4 minutes left. Yeah, I prefer Fitty too. Fitty. Yes, I'm not going to repeat that, but I appreciate the sentiment. Solite US Expat. Everybody hit that effing like button. Roger Claiborne is saying, yep, lots of great horns in California. Saw those and barn owls a lot when I lived in Skaggs Island, Sonoma. I have never seen a barn owl. I've only ever seen great horned owls. I've never seen any other type of owl. Thank you, Unkside. Got 3 more minutes. 3 more minutes. Let's see how everything is progressing. So you're doing pretty well. Oh yeah. Yeah, hype the video up too. I'm not sure how that works, but just hype it. Whatever you do. Good night. Good night, Unkside. Okay, Roger Claiborne said barn owls are beautiful owls with a lot of white. Also had those small burrowing owls in the hayfield. Skaggs Island was a Navy base. Still at 50. Just hit the hype. Like if you're one of the 50, hit the hype button and see if we get 50 hypes. I don't know what they do, but it's probably good. It's probably a good thing. Let me see if I can even see hypes. How are we doing on likes? Yeah, I'm like lagging behind. I have like 49 likes and 2 dislikes. So what I'm seeing is a net 47. And I'm seeing like no hypes, but it's probably just lagging. No hypes at all. All right, we got like 1 minute. One more minute. Let's see. Yeah, Roger says, "Yep, got here fashionably late. I have not seen the uncontrolled remote viewing channel, Fred. Oh, it's after the live stream is done. Okay. Yeah, I guess it's after the stream is done. Okay. All right, folks. We hit the top of the hour. So thank you all. Have a great rest of your weekend. God bless and good night.